Welcome to Vsb News Online for Wednesday, January the 28th. I'm Charles Webb. Union workers have agreed to go back to work tomorrow as talks aimed at producing peace in the current furlough dispute between the Bermuda Trade Union Congress and the government continue tonight. Premier Michael Dunkley and BIU President Chris Ferbert addressed the crowd of union workers in the cabinet grounds. Premier Dunkley said that the furloughs will now be only considered as a last resort, and that every effort was being made by both sides to find savings in the civil service budget. Here are some highlights from their comments.
Ladies and gentlemen, the last few days have seen us expressing divided opinions on the issues at hand. We may not have always agreed on everything, but sometimes that is the nature of democracy. It does not make us any less connected as a community. In fact, it indicates that there is a deep and abiding desire amongst all Bermudians to ensure the best for our people. We may disagree on how to achieve the result, but at the heart of this, I believe that we all have the wider interest of Bermuda at the forefront of our minds. As I indicated after Monday's meeting, the Cabinet has identified a number of additional cost savings, which brings us closer to the target budget figure that the government needs to present a workable budget, a budget that allows us to continue the work of restoring government's finances and to mold a more solid footing. This is important so that we can do the things the people elected us to do. We must deliver services to the taxpayers and run a government that is efficient and cost-conscious. We must continue to build the confidence in Bermuda so we can continue to grow and prosper. And so I'm thus pleased tonight to join colleagues across Bermuda and the leadership of the BTUC here on the steps to announce that the government and the BTUC have come to the agreement. Our disagreements have been centered on the continuation of the furlough day. Now we can move forward. With the savings that have been identified by all parties, it is clear that we continue to work towards the goal of reducing the operating costs of the government in accordance with the strategy outlined by the Minister of Finance in the first budget 2 years ago. With that in mind, the government and the BTC agree that continuing the furlough day will only be considered as a last resort. It is important that we now turn our attention to the work at hand, which is demanded us by the people we serve, and to ensure that we continue to function, working together to restore the promise of Bermuda for all of our citizens. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I now turn it over to the President.
Brothers and sisters, it has been a long day. We started this journey on Monday. It is now Wednesday. As Reverend Tweed said to you a few moments ago, between Mr. Gary Phillips and himself, along with one other person that we here working with, Reverend Tweed, going backwards and forwards for the better part of the day on behalf of the leadership of the TUC. And we say on behalf of the leadership of the TUC because we wanted to stay out of the process until the end so we can pull the rest of what needed to be discussed as relates to yesterday and today, because it's important. Recognizing that as I was walking around talking to members, they were concerned about their pay for yesterday. They were concerned about their pay for today. And recognizing that we said to you that sacrifice sometimes is needed, it's necessary. You may have to sacrifice a day's pay. You might have to sacrifice 2 days' pay. Recognizing that there are, and Reverend Tweed read out number 2 and number 3 to you, you recognize that we identified that there's a furlough day that's due to be paid, or you're due to take in February. There's another furlough day that you're due to take in March. So what we're saying in advance of that, those 2 furlough days, if you have them, you can now take those 2 days, yesterday and today, and not lose any pay at all. And that, from our point of view, is a good compromise. In relationship to this issue of the furlough remaining for a consideration, That's all it is, our consideration. If we are able to make it happen, all I would suggest to some of the operators, if you can assist in getting that done, it will mean, I'm saying try to assist to get it done. That's all I'm asking you. And if it means it takes you, you know, an hour or 2 hours to go up, to get the buses up there, and they pay you some overtime to get it done so we can get the service back running tomorrow morning, let's try to achieve that, please. Let's try to achieve that.
Minister of Finance Bob Richards will be hoping that as a result of the days of debate, the island's government workers will have a better understanding of his legal obligation to produce a sustainable budget to Parliament before the money runs out.
The message that I sent to the union was clear, that every year the government is required to bring a budget. Each fiscal year has a legal requirement that every dollar that's spent by the government and every dollar that is taxed by the government has to have legal authorization from Parliament. The legal authorization for us to spend money and to tax money runs out on March 31st. Without another legal authorization from Parliament, the government cannot function. That is the letter that I sent to them. It was no threat. It's the reality. It's law. Every dollar of government requires a legal authorization. And the current authorization we have runs out on March 31st. That's why we go up to Parliament, we analyze government's budget, the future, what our plans are, and all that stuff. Because the law requires us to do it. If somebody wants to interpret the letter that I sent as in some way threatening, they don't understand the system. The system is that we are a country of laws. I'm the finance minister, but I am controlled by the law and the Constitution. The Constitution and the law of this country requires that the People's Parliament approve spending. It is not approved yet, but I can tell you one thing, we'll have a budget for the 20th. We're working on it and we're moving forward on that. But the thing that I was trying to communicate to the unions was that irrespective of whether people march, whether they make speeches or whatever, the law is the law, and we cannot spend any money without legal authorization from Parliament.
The third day of the impasse between the government workers and the government over the furlough issue saw union members from other industries walk off the job to join their colleagues on the grounds of the cabinet to show solidarity, thus heightening fears that a general strike was in the making. They heard from BIU President Chris Ferbert.
All I keep telling the minister and the government, that you can't legislate people's behavior. Because when the people have had enough, and enough, and enough, I don't care whether you write that on 10,000 pieces of paper. Those words are not going to mean a whole lot to them. And we're certainly hoping that what they're saying there, because remember now, after this comes something else. Let's be clear, because I need to tell you what happens next. There's almost a 100% guarantee what's going to happen next. If you don't follow that, they'll go to the Chief Justice and get an injunction to send you back to work, or order you back to work. Ain't much difference in them. The only thing is that one's signed by the minister, the other one's going to be signed by the Chief Justice. And we've been down that road before. So we do have an issue that needs to be resolved. And because this matter is getting out of hand, we certainly hope that maybe it's the Chamber of Commerce, maybe it's the Employers Council, I don't know who it is, but somehow or other, somebody needs to talk some sense into the Bermuda government's head. Because apparently who they listen to all this time is not giving them the correct advice. And all we ever will do and continue to do is look out for the interests of our members and look out for the interests of this country. And if we weren't prepared to do that, we wouldn't have went to the table with this budget working group in November last year. Because we knew that we could come up with the savings that we're looking for. That reminds me, this is a very important point. The Premier, let's get it right. The Premier last night said that when he called his cabinet together on Tuesday, they found some additional savings. What I find that very interesting. Something tells me that it's quite obvious that when you're supposed to do your work before, you didn't do it. Because if you've done it, you'll find that money there. So when you heard the Premier on Let's Talk last night say we found a further $14 to $16 million. And I said, my.
As the number of government workers occupying the Cabinet Office grounds increased to some 4,000 to 5,000 on this third day of protests against the government, the Bermuda Police Service went to organizational mode to ensure order and public safety. Assistant Commissioner Antoine Daniels told me how the police are using strategy to ensure that order prevails.
In a situation like this, for the Bermuda Police Service, what we always do, we always police our events or incidents based on the risk, because our mantra obviously is making Bermuda safer, and we want everyone to feel and be safe. So yes, you're going to see a large presence of police officers in highly visible gear. And how we do it basically is we look at our, first of all, we set a strategy, saying what we want to do. In this case, obviously, we want to allow people to protest lawfully, because that's their constitutional right to protest. But if you look at the situation now, it's not where it's confrontational. It's just people at the Cabinet grounds who are showing their right, the lawful right to protest. And what the police are doing, they're basically in the area, taking care of the traffic, making sure people are safe, making sure obviously no one don't interfere or pose a risk to either the negotiators from the government side or the union side. And how we do that, we use a series of our resources from different areas. So normally you may see the bikes spread all over the island, or the patrol cars. What we've done today, we've just centralized all of our resources into the city area, just to make sure everyone is safe.
But I don't think you had time to plan it, did you?
It wasn't a matter of planning. What we do, we have contingencies in place whereby if an incident such as this happens, we will take the resources from this respective area. So what we've done things like, if you are a plainclothes officer attending work today, we ask you to put on a uniform. So then it multiplies our numbers. If you are maybe a Marine section officer, we ask you to come on land today. So we expand our resources through the people that are working on that day. Now, if things, knock on wood, should take a turn for the worse, then we may have to call in additional resources.
But in the meantime, you're keeping an eye on keeping control.
Yes, we have. Obviously, we have some of our officers embedded within the negotiating areas, and they report back to me regularly on what's going on, what the temperature, and we work on taking a measured approach to what if it's the potential threat. So we don't want to go down there with blue lights flashing and and tears us out, because the people are exercising their right to protest, and that's lawful.
And we'll be back with more news right after this.
In an effort to make Bermuda's roads safer, and in partnership with Bermuda Police Service and the Bermuda Road Safety Council, DeFon's Broadcasting is launching a safe driving campaign. Complete with thumb bands, come into DeFon's Broadcasting and 94 Reed Street and make the commitment to drive safer and slower for yourself. Your voice could be featured on the radio. Get yourself a thumb band as a reminder of your commitment to drive safer and with fewer distractions. While you're at it, why not get one for someone in your life who also needs a reminder that our roads do not discriminate. They can take anyone's life. Let's drive safe, Bermuda, and arrive alive. Peace and love. Safe journeys.
After remaining silent for 2 days, Opposition Leader Mark Bean finally came out today with a PLP statement on the ongoing impasse between the TUC and the government. VSB's Brian Darby reads it for us.
The PLP says in its statement, the ongoing standoff between the Government of Bermuda and the Bermuda Trade Union Congress is an industrial matter, not a political matter, and thus the Bermuda Progressive Labour Party has stayed out of the fray. However, when due to the stubbornness of the government, Bermudians continue to be inconvenienced due to service disruption, we cannot remain silent. In government, the PRP also had to work through disagreements with Bermuda's unions. It's a part of our democracy. However, the unwillingness of the government to report positively to a constructive outreach on the part of the BTUC to resolve this crisis and return to the negotiating table by gazetting a labour dispute notice and threatening imprisonment is wholly unproductive. That is a collaborative effort to find savings before any recourse to any of the drastic and draconian measures like a public bodies reform, continued austerity, and a third year of reduced wages for public sector workers. We call on the government to do what is necessary to get back to the negotiating table so that this escalating impasse can come to an end. Brian Darby reporting for Vsb News.
Among the local clergy who have been keeping a watching eye on the current labour dispute is Bishop Vernon Lamb of the Church of God, a veteran when it comes to assisting behind the scenes to find settlements to disputes.
This could be settled just by humility and a sense of fresh awareness that we put you here. You are supposed to be dedicated to working for us. Therefore, justice ought not to have to be pled for. It ought to be automatic. You would not be where you are to do what you're doing had we not put you there. You have disappointed many people because the sacrifices that have been made have been great. Look across this place. We are not rebels or rebel rousers. We're just people who want justice. And justice has to come now. That's all. Now, the church has been seen to be on the outside. This is not the first time I've been down here. I can take you back some years. Many of my comrades are gone. I'm 75 years old, but I've been here many times. I know about walking back and forth in the night to bring the parties together so that settlement can come on some disputes. Okay? But the point is, this is 2015. And while all of this emphasis is on what we're going to develop commercially, what about us? What about the people? What about that individual home? What about that single mother? What about the struggle of the people? They've made a sacrifice. I said they have made a sacrifice. I said they have made a sacrifice. Now, what if you were to suddenly have fresh awareness that you're really in this place for us? And it's about time that you just leave the policy on the table, let it run its course, come back and renegotiate if you have to.
And now we turn to Earl Baisden with the latest from the sports desk.
The Western Star Sports Club voted in a new president at their annual general meeting last evening at the club. We asked new president Willis Dill what's the first order of business for him and his new committee.
Well, Earl, you got to understand that, it is a new committee pretty much. A lot of us, including myself, are getting involved in the executive and management for the first time. We will be meeting very shortly. I've scheduled a meeting with them very shortly to start the business at hand. The club pretty much is in good shape. We just need to pull in some administrative matters and a few things that I have in mind to do. But we will be meeting shortly to start to put things in place.
Why would you put your hat in the ring to lead a prestigious club, one of the leading clubs in both football and cricket in the island?
I have to laugh a little bit first, but it's because a lot of the members actually love me to run for president. To be quite fair and quite honest to one of our members, I would say for about the last 10, 12 years, I have been asked to run for president on numerous occasions. One individual even, every time the election has come around, whenever she would see me, would call me Mr. President, and I immediately knew what that meant. But I just didn't have the time then, and now a lot of my time has been freed up. And so I think, it's quite, the time for them to actually ask me was right. I received a lot of phone calls from quite a number of members And then, you know, what I did was I began to lobby some of the members, some of the main players in the club, some of the people that are at the club, you know, on a fairly regular basis, just talking to them and just kind of telling them what I saw that needs to be done. And so based on that, you know, I made a decision, you know, to throw my hat in the ring.
The 2015 ISAF Sailing World Cup Series continued on the Biscayne Bay in Miami, Florida. Bermuda's Cameron Pimentel and Cece Woolman lined up to take part. Pimentel in the laser fleet, while Woolman is taking part in the laser radar fleet. Pimentel began the day in 89th place overall. He moved up one spot after 3 races on the day and 5 races completed in total. He finished 39th in the first race of the day, which was the third of the series, 49th in the second race of the day, and 35th in the third race of the day. Pimentel has 161 net points. Woolman finally got on the water as her class did not get out on day one. The ladies sailed 4 races on the day. Woolman ended the day in 47th place with 59 net points. Woolman recorded finishes of 34th, 33rd, 16th, and 10th. The Summer Down Under Wheelchair Road Race Series is the highest profile wheelchair sport event in Australia. Bermuda's Paralympian Jessica Lewis competed in the Aussie Day 10K road race through Sydney's The Rocks. Lewis finished 8th in the women's open division, crossed the line in a time of 34.52. She finished 30th overall. Following the 8 Bermuda Football Association's first and Premier Division matches, we now take a look at the leading goal scorers and league standings. A total of 29 goals were scored over the weekend in 2 divisions. 15 goals came in the Premier Division, while 14 were in the First Division. In the Premier Division, Hamilton Parish are the league leaders with 23 points. Somerset Trojans are in second with 21 points, while the North Village Rams are in third with 18 points. Keston Lewis from the Flanagan's Onions is the league leading goal scorer with 11 goals. Antoine Russell from Robin Hood has 9 goals. Shakir Smith from the PHC Zebras is in third with 6 goals, while Clay Darrow from the Dennytown Hornets, Keishan Bean from the North Village Rams, and Shane Hollis from Hamilton Parish all have 5 goals on the season. The First Division is currently being led by the Boulevard Blazers with 30 points. Devonshire Colts are in second with 27 points, while BAA are in third with 22 points. Ty Vince Douglas from the Boulevard Blazers leads the league in goal scoring with 15 goals. Ian Coke from the Boulevard Blazers is in second with 13. Kyle Jones from the Devonshire Colts has 12 goals on the season, and Lizandro Simon from the Devonshire Colts has found the back of the net 11 times. The Bermuda Cricket Board confirmed yesterday that 4 Bermuda cricket players have been selected to take part in the Ontario Cricket Academy and Club's Under-19 Sri Lankan Tour from March 11th through to the 23rd. Antoine Seaman, Cameron Jeffries, Shari Smith, and Sheldon Casey are all selected to take part. The players were selected by the Under-18 management team based on the position required by the Ontario Cricket Academy and the players' commitment, hard work, and dedication in training. In Commercial League bowling action at the Wark Lanes, it saw Sweet Life defeat the Superstars 4-0. Double Trouble got by Guard to its best 4-0. The Spinners defeated Team Unsponsored 4-0, while Livewires defeated BTC 3-1. The game between the Braves and the BPS Blue Lanterns, as well as the game between the Alley Pals and the Sunset, both ended 2-2. For the second game in a row, Jason Shrub and his Bates men's squash teammates went down 7-2, this time to Dartmouth. Shrub, once again playing in the number 6 spot, took on Michael Matras. Shrub went down in 4 games, 12-14, 11-7, 11-6, 11-6. I'm Earl Basden reporting for VSB Sports.
Looking at the weather for Thursday, January the 29th, it will be partly sunny with a few showers during the day. Winds will be northwesterly, moderate, increasing, moderate to strong at times through afternoon, then backing westerly, moderate overnight. We are expecting a high near 64 and a low near 58. This weather report is the courtesy of the Bermuda Weather Service. Thanks for watching VSB News Online for Wednesday, January the 28th. I'm Charles Webb.